Okay, so that's gonna be fun. How many of you actually use Android Studio? I'm just checking if anybody does not. Okay, so you okay, this is an experiment, all right? So this to me is brand new. I'm gonna try to live code the new stuff and tips and tricks about Android Studio that I use every day. Hopefully that's gonna teach you a few things. Maybe not, and if not, sorry. But if it does teach you at least one thing, then I think it's good enough. So first, that's me. That's my name. I'm Yannick. Pleased to meet you. I do Android stuff, and I also organize the GGG Brussels stuff, and I absolutely love doing that. Another plug, just FYI, I'm the other half of the team that actually does this podcast. It's in French. It's about Android. We're having a lot of fun doing that. We have guests. So if you speak French, if you're interested in Android, I really recommend you check it out. And that's pretty much all my slides. What I'm going to do today is going directly into Android Studio to show you what's going on with what's new in Android Studio, but also was already there and maybe features that are less known, and especially how you can actually use it as efficiently as possible. At least that's the things that I do every day, or most of the time at least. And if you have any questions or if you have any remarks, please feel free to let me know, and at least I will learn something as well. So let's start. I'm cheating, I have notes over there. Okay, so this is Android Studio 2.2, I think, if I'm not mistaken. So it's actually stable. It's not everything I'm going to show you today is fully available on the stable version. There's no magic tricks or anything like that. I'm going to start with two things. The first thing is I have installed one. Actually, I have only two plugins installed, and the first one is something called Key Promoter. I try to use as much the keyboard as possible, and I do not know all the keyboard shortcuts, and so this Key Promoter thing helps me a lot with telling me when I'm supposed to use a keyboard instead of the mouse. That's just one thing that is a friend and the most annoying guy ever, because every time you do something like this, you have this awful pop-up that opens up and says, hey, you should actually use this Control R instead of actually clicking on this. So this is terrible, but this is awesome at the same time because you learn. And now, next time you actually do try, you just do Control R and you don't have this pop-up anymore. Just a little FYI about this. There's a bit of an issue because this is an American thing. And for instance, if you actually click on this underneath the terminal button, by the way, first thing, everybody see the code okay? Yeah? Okay, good. So if you try to click on the terminal on the Android monitor button underneath there, it says Alt 6, right? But the problem is if I do Alt 6, it's not working, or Alt 5 or Alt 7, it's not working. Because it's crappy American keyboards that actually don't handle those letters properly. So this is going to be annoying to everyone, but for everything else, it works pretty well. All right.
I think it's command and number.
No, it's control.
Well,
no, command 6. No, it's Alt 6.
No, for me, I think it used to.
Yeah, but
used to work with the command.
Oh, yes, indeed. Okay, thank you. It's command. It's not Alt, so it lied. Thank you very much. All right. So command works, and it works also for 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, and so on. So it does. It actually opens up different windows all over the place, and you can always press Escape to go back to the actual editing area, which is nice. So that was a little introduction about Key Promoter. So if you see those things popping up, that's because I'm not doing my job well. The second plugin that I'm using, that's for Android developers, obviously, duh. It's called ADB Idea. It's something that I find extremely nice and useful because so many times I actually develop some app and I need to clear the data or the cache for that app, or I need to uninstall it to actually be able to install it again. So instead of actually going to the device or using ADB commands, well, somebody called Philippe Bruel actually did a nice little plugin called ADB Idea. And what you do is Control Shift and A, and you have this nice little pop-up that will give you a few options like uninstall the app, and it will automatically know what project you're working on, and will, if you have many devices plugged in, you can actually unplug, you can actually select what device you want to uninstall it from, and so on and so forth. And so what I can do, for instance, I can restart the app or clear the app data, and so on. So I don't need to actually go to the device and find the very tedious path to do that manually. So that's pretty cool. So that's the only two plugins that I'm using. Everything else is directly coming from Android Studio itself. Alright, so I figured that the best way to actually show you new stuff is to create a new app. So this app that you're looking at right now is something that I did by clicking simply on new project and selected the blank activity, I believe. So if I start it now with my wonderful keyboard shortcut, is starting the emulator, which actually is working quite well now. Yay! Almost no need for Genymotion anymore. Well, I should have started it before. Sorry for that. But it's actually working quite well. So now I have my beautiful, beautiful app, which is, yep. Oh, there we go. It says hello world. But I didn't do any code yet. Alright? So what should we do? So the first thing is, the first new thing about Android 2.2 is most likely the one that is more commonly known or have been talked about is the new layout editor. I am still not a big fan of those things, but let's see what it does. So this, let me show it a little bit bigger. So this is the new layout editor. It looks, well, I don't know how it looked before because I am a text layout editing guy, so I always use text edit. So this part over here to do my edition, so I was always in there, so I never knew exactly how the layout editor worked before. So now with the constraint layouts, it's a little bit different, but it works also with the other layouts. So what you have is, for instance, a blueprint view, which will show you like outlines of what's going on in the layout itself. Honestly, as far as I'm concerned, with the old style layouts, it's not that much of a shit. Sorry, I don't want that. So it's not that much of a big deal, but it doesn't really bring me anything new. However, for the constraint layout, it's actually very, very important. And the constraint layout is quite a big deal as far as the new stuff is concerned. Whether you like it or not, it's there, and it's, I think, interesting to at least try to get into. So let's try to do that. So first we click on the design area. So you have activity main. Underneath in the component tree, it shows you what components are in the layout right now. Let's try to zoom in a bit. So you have component tree and you have one text view, and so far that's all you have. And I believe that if you right click and you can click on convert relative layout to constraint layout, let's try this magic. And it says, yay, it's better, please do this because we are awesome and we do awesome job. And yes, let's do that. So, yep. So actually what it did is it added automatically the dependency for the constraints layout in the application, and it transformed my, and you already have problems, which is great. As you can see, it's not perfect. And so what it did is it transformed my relative layout in constraint layout, added a few things, and now it actually changed the text. No, it did not. And I have no idea what's going on there. Obviously. So it should have worked. Just build the project, yes. That's better. Okay, it's because it was a new dependency and I had to build the project for it to actually bring it. By the way, the dependency is local, so it's part of the SDK. So if you downloaded the SDK, you should have it. You don't have to actually download it from the internet. So what happens here? You see that here we have. Let's make it bigger. On the blue, let's do one at a time. So this is the blueprint layout. So in the blueprint layout, you can see that I have a text view here, and I have some arrows going everywhere. So if I move it, I see numbers like 128 and 120, this is actually something called a constraint. So this is a fixed constraint saying that this is always going to be at 128 dp from the top and 120 dp from the left side. That's a constraint. So that means that this is going to happen also on any kind of devices. So if I look at the other view, which is this one, I have no idea how it's called. Oh, you have two. So it should actually work on all like no, I just see it's actually not working, which is awesome.
You have a measure error
Again.
still.
Okay, you know what? So that was one of my remarks. Is right there. It says it's not quite ready yet. It's not really perfect. I'm not entirely happy with it yet, but someday maybe. So the way we're supposed to actually use it is you start from scratch and you just drag and drop, and that actually is going to work better. So let's try to make a constraint again. So we just click here and drag a line all the way to the top and do the same thing. Again, let's be there only. And do the same thing from the side. So now we have two constraints, one to the top, one to the side, and we have the same thing with the fixed number. And so now if I actually go back to this view, it just doesn't like me, does it? It used to work. Okay, Google, saw that? It's not working. Thanks. All right, so that was supposed to be constraint layout. Let me show you some actually constraint layout that I did on another project that actually do work, but hopefully. Well, did work. Let's put it that way. Where am I? Oh, that's another one. I'm looking for a class file. It's actually easy enough. Do you know the keyboard shortcut to actually find a class in your project?
Double shift.
Nope.
Control.
That's not a class. That's
Command O.
Well, it depends. I'm using a Mac, so it's going to Command O.
Command O.
Yeah, Command O is find any class in your file. So only classes. But if you're looking for, you don't exactly know what you're looking for. Maybe you have like different files that have the same name but are not classes. They may be resources. You actually can do double shift, like you said, and double shift will say search everywhere about anything. So in this case, I'm looking for a layout. So let's say I think there's one called main menu. No, the activity main. That's perfect. And so I can tab in there and go to different like sections, and I can do this. And this is not a good one because there is no constraint there in this one. Let's find another one. That's not the right project either. That's awesome. I'm good at that. I'm dark. All right, let's do it that way. That's good. Right. All right. This one is a constraint layout, yay. And their layout is, I think, very much failing, or is it not? Yes, it is. So you still have the measure error. So it's not going to work in the preview mode, but it will work in the in the other mode. So basically, you have constraint everywhere, and you can actually, if you have one. So the way I did it, I'm going to try to remove this error message, which is annoying. Get out. Thank you. So the way I do it usually is I keep, if I have to have one element that will drive the whole view, I will keep this element to be like the master. So I have this element which is on top, and I give a few constraints to that one. And now if I actually move that one, everything else will follow, because I actually introduce other constraints like this text view here is actually connected to that text view there to the top. So that means that these two will always be at the same Y position. Same with the Jesus. Okay, this is not my fault, I promise, guys. This is what happens when they don't do their job properly. And in this case, I have this text view that is aligned. Jesus. Okay, you know what? Forget it.
Click details.
Yeah, well, that helps. Yeah, that helps. No, it's just a problem in Android Studio, and I won't have time to actually go into details. But anyway, constraint layout, it can be fun, but it's not quite ready yet. So that was the new layout editor. Thank you very much for that. All right, let's move on because that's going to be annoying. There's also a brand new, well, there's also more and more C++ things like control inside the IDE. However, I don't do C++ stuff at this point, so I'm not going to show that because it's going to be even worse than this. So let's just, you just know that it exists. But something that's actually interesting, let's go back to our amazing app here. This activity. So I'm looking for, okay, I have no idea how this app-compat activity works. Well, there's something new called the sample browser. So if you actually go to the app-compat activity word, you click on it, and then you do Alt F8. And what's going to happen? Really? Oh, Jesus. Wow, there we go. Okay, what's going to happen? Underneath here, we have a few, Android has a bunch of existing samples that you can actually find if you go to File, New, and you can do Import Sample. So basically, it will go to a GitHub area and find you a whole bunch of samples that exist for Android projects. And so the sample browser that I opened here underneath is basically finding example of use of this class that I was looking at inside of those samples that are available. How do I do that? Okay, I know. Die.
It's because you're too famous in Twitter.
I don't have anything else running. I just killed the browser. That's going to be better. And of course, my connection is failing. Why? Remember how I used to say that they have great connection here? Okay. So anyway, so basically, this is the sample browser. You can find uses of the app-compat activity inside classes, so it's pretty neat. If you don't know how to use a specific class, I can do another one. If you have, for instance, let's remove this because otherwise it's not going to go anywhere. Oh. It's better. I was going to use constraint layouts, but they're not very nice with me, so too bad. So let's make it better. All right. So now I have something a little bit better. So let's add some edit text here. Wrap content, and we make it also orientation vertical. Really? Really? Okay. So now I have an edit text, and I have scroll edit, and I do this find view by ID. You probably all know that already. Oh, that's actually I don't have an ID for it yet, so let's try that again. Add ID, and then I do this, and then I do this is my edit r.id dot, and I can find it here. This is my edit, and now it's not happy. And why is it not happy? Is because I need to cast it, and so I can just type it, cast myself, which is fine, but could be better. So another thing that I use all the time that you should actually know if you don't already is Alt-Enter on anything inside the editor view. So for instance, if I do Alt-Enter here, it actually says, okay, I have a few ideas of what you could do to fix this. One of them, the first one, is cast to Android with edit text. So it does it for me, which is awesome. I can do other things. Like I can change a variable edit to type view because that's what the view find view by ID does by default. But that's not what I want. I want this. So that's good. However, maybe something that you didn't know, you can actually use the Alt-Enter at any time, even if there's no problem. So you can actually do Alt-Enter and do other things that it actually provide. For instance, you say, okay, I can say that I can annotate the find view by ID as null to make sure that it returns always something. It just basically gives me ideas of things that I could do with this piece of code. and it can be useful. In this case, I don't have anything to change, but later on, I will show you something that works. So, so same thing. So I can add a text watcher. So add text change listener to text watcher. So it actually all that is created automatically. It's beautiful, and I don't exactly know how to use text watcher, so I can do click on text watcher and do Alt F8, and it should find me examples of text watcher use. So now I actually see here in this example view, I actually have a sample code here done by Google in the sample that says, okay, now I see that it's not doing anything in the first methods, but after text change, it does something like this, which may be useful to me. I can maybe now better understand what's going on. That's not English at all, but that's okay. All right. So that was the simple browser. What else do we have? Oh yeah, that's a great one. Any of you know about DEX files? Okay, 3 people. All right. Any of you wonder what's going on in an APK file? Well, now you can. Well, before you could actually just rename the file to zip file, unzip it, and then look at it, which is one thing you can do. And now you actually have this awesome tool, which is called Apk Analyzer, which is where build, analyze APK. So first you need to find one. I happen to have one right there, which is perfect. And I click OK. And now actually what it does is it will look at the APK and look what's going on inside of it. And I can see all the resources. I can see the classes to the text that contains a bunch of classes in there, and see also the number of methods that is inside of it. So you can have an idea of what's going on, have a better idea of what's going on inside the DEX, and wonder. And now you don't have to wonder why you actually have to use multi-DEX anymore, which is absolutely terrific, right? And it also gives you the download size, which is a bit different from the file size itself, because the Play Store is somewhat smart and does some magic to reduce the file size as much as possible. Voila. What else do we have? Oh, something that could be interesting is the Espresso test recorder. Have you ever heard of that? Does any of you actually do unit testing or view testing with Espresso? Good. True, two of them. All right.
It's a pain.
Could be better. It's a pain, is it? Well, you know, maybe it's better now. But how does that work? Well, another tip, if you know that there is some feature in Android Studio but don't exactly know where to look because there's a lot of menus, there's a lot of things hidden, there's a little shortcut that's really nice. It's called Command-Shift-A. When you do Command-Shift-A, you have this, and you know the action by name. So, for instance, in this case, the Espresso test recorder. So it's type Espresso, record Espresso test. Perfect. That's exactly what I want to do. So let's try that. So let's start this in the emulator that is already running, so it's going to be faster. Yay! So let's put this side by side. All right. So now I can. Well, obviously I cannot do anything, so it's going to be smooth. So let's add an assertion. And now I have this, and I can say I want this. I can click on Hello World, and I want this. I want the text to be Hello World, and that's good enough, I guess. Let's say save assertion, and yep, and complete recording. And that's going to be called main activity test. So I click on save, and now I have a main activity test with a bunch of code that is generated, and this is actually supposedly proper Espresso code that is written. Supposedly, I said. It's supposed to be proper Espresso code written, and this test is supposed to work and can be reused, and obviously you can actually improve it and so on. So the main goal of the Espresso test recorder is to help you write tests for your UI without spending too much time writing it. So it does it for you. Yeah.
How did you start the recorder?
I did Command-Shift-A because I don't know where it is.
Okay.
And I type Espresso and I clicked on enter, and that's it. And to be quite honest, I believe Well, I'm not actually. I don't know where the button is.
In run.
In there.
It says in run.
Ah, it's in run. There you go. There. That's the whole point of this. It's actually giving you. Well, I'm used to look at it if there is a shortcut. I don't really look at anything else. This is nice because it's also going to show you, like, for instance, if I want to start a new Android, if you want to, there you go, start app. Oh, come on, really? Okay, never mind. Let's try another one, like find. There you go. So file in path, for instance, you have the shortcut right here. So it's something that I look at more than the actual menu because I try to avoid clicking all over the place in menus. But Command Shift A is going to be your friend. I think it's Control Shift A in Windows, but I'm not entirely sure. But all that works also on Windows, obviously. Okay, a few other things. So Command Shift A, Alt Enter. Yeah, you've seen code completion, so you know all about code completion, right? So if I have, for instance, here I have editable. I want to do something with it, so it actually gives me what can I do with edit. So I can view editable or edit because I have both in my code right now. So I want to use editable. So I press point. Now I have a few other things that I can do with this object. If I do a control space, that's the same thing as doing as pressing the point basically, and gives me a few information about the method itself. If I do shift control space, whoops. If I do shift control space, it's gonna try to be a bit. It's going to be a bit more intuitive into what you're trying to do, so it will be a little bit more context aware. I'm not saying that it's working every single time, but at least it's a little bit better. So that's the code completion. Hopefully you know anything about. If I rename this class, it's going to be a mess because if the class name changes and the file name doesn't match, Java is not happy. So how do I, if I do this, like test for instance, oh no, not test, that's not 2, that now it's not happy because the file name is not the same, so it's not happy at all. And the other thing is, maybe some other class is using this main activity somewhere and didn't know about my change, so I can actually just press Shift F6, and now I can actually rename it, and it will actually do the refactoring everywhere it needs to be. And anywhere it needs to be doing it. So now it's actually found the main activity test and asking me if he wants me to rename it to main activity 2 test because that's the name of the class. So yes, sure, why not? And it also did it in the manifest, in the Android manifest. This one, it's called main activity 2. So it was refactored everywhere. So that's a pretty strong feature. So Shift F6 to rename things, and it actually also works for variable names. So if for instance, if I want to rename this I, which makes no sense to me, I do the same thing. If I do Shift F6, and this one is actually some index. And now if I actually use some index somewhere, so if I do int something equals some index, and I do Shift F6 and put it back to I, it did change it automatically inside of it too. So that's also a very nice thing to know. Another thing that is not known very much is, for instance, if you have a list. I have a list of string called list, called new array list, and I want to make sure it's not null. I can do list not null, and it adds automatically the nice wrapping around it. Obviously, it's complaining because it says, well, it's always true because obviously I just created it over. So this makes no sense. So I don't need this. However, I want to iterate over it, so I can do, for instance, a list.for, all for each, all for I. So if I do a for, it will automatically give me the for each syntax but sometimes in Android it's not very nice, so I have a for I instead, which is going to give me a for with a an index instead of a for each version. So that's a neat trick as well, the actual auto-completion. This is called the postfix completion, which is neat. Something else that I use all the time, and maybe you don't know anything about it, or maybe you do, it's something called live template. Everyone knows what live template is? Where? 2 people, alright, 3 people maybe. Alright, you have a few already built-in Android Studio for Android. Like for instance, any of you logs things to the logcat, right? Logging, yes. So you can type log d, and it will automatically actually add the line, gives you the name of the method, and say, okay, I'm in the loop. So that's it. That's actually very simple, and you can add it very easily. And it says here, it uses tag. I don't have tag yet, so let's see what I can do about that. Let's create a constant field called tag, yes, yes, and now I can do my usual main activity2.class.get simple name. That's usually how I do it.
You can type log t and it will create a tag.
Exactly. Log t. Bam! Does the same thing. Well, not exactly the same thing. And you can also do other things, other fun things like, maybe you didn't know that one, hopefully you did, log m, which actually explains the method and displays every single parameter in the method, which is nice because sometimes you want to see what parameters you get inside of a method when you get inside of it, and then you have all that stuff automatically done just for letters. That's pretty cool. You can create your own also. So I'm weird, and I like to add blocks of comments to say this is the life cycle methods of the activity. So I have something called block lifecycle, and just put this in there. So that's something that I created. You might not use it. I also use Timber, so I have something called T, which actually generate the Timber tag that you put in your constructor or the onCreate of activity or whatever. Same kind of idea. So basically, I copied everything that was log whatever to tim whatever. That does exactly the same thing, but using Timber instead. So that's live templates that I've been creating. So you can create live templates quite easily, going to preferences or type pom comma, which is a very strange thing happening there, but it works. And so in there you can type just up there live template, and you have live templates here. And so you can find all the live templates that already exist. So that's all Android. All these are Android stuff that were provided for you. That's nothing that I created. So you have all these things that you can just type in your code, and it will be found as live templates, and you can create your own. So I already have like a few. So if I do n to create something, template group, let's say DevFest, okay, and now I do n live template, and I want to do DevFest, and I can do here, put a comment that says DevFest is cool, and voila. And now I have to define the scope. Where is it used? It's used in the Java environment, so I'm happy with that. And now I click on OK, and now I can type DevFest, and it finds it, and it adds it, and it's magic. So live templates, and you can also add parameters and things like that. That's pretty cool. Okay, what time is it? All right, global. If you're falling asleep, let me know. That's all I'm going to do for the next 15 minutes anyway. So we have also something called search and replace globally. So that's cool. So basically, inside of the one file, you can always do a command F to find. So you can say activity, and it will find everything that's called activity. That's great. You can also do a command R, which is the same thing inside one file. So you can type activity, and it will find this. Now I want to actually look for other files that actually have this word. Oh, I should have used command one. Bad. So let's try to create a new class. New Java class, DevFest class. And this one is, I'm going to put a comment in there that says activity, just for kicks. And now if I do Command Shift R, that's for replace. That's basically it's going to try to replace activity everywhere in the project, because I said whole project right here, or in one specific directory, or in one specific module. If you use multiple modules in your app, you can actually choose all these things. You can also say it must be case sensitive or not. It must be only in MXML file. Why? I don't know. But in Java files, it makes more sense to me. And let's see, you also have a preview right here. So in all Java files in the project, including the Java files that have been generated by the project, it actually found all these activity words or activity words everywhere. So you can actually look into those things and see what are the ones that you want to eventually the ones you want to change. So that means that if I change that to something else, all of this will be changed, transform activity to something else, which is not at all what I want. But if you do Command Shift F, the same for find. So you don't replace here. You just find. You can click on the find button, and it will return this view underneath. It will give you a more detailed and more saved. What's the word I'm looking for? Well, persistent, I guess, view here of your search. So you can always go back there and find, okay, I found this one in a comment, so I can double click on there and go there, or I found it here in the set content view on this class, and I can go there automatically. So if you didn't know this, it's actually pretty nice. Another one that is nice is it's called the global search. The structural search. So if I do again Command Shift A, and I type structural search structurally. I click on this, and now I can do something like I'm looking for comments. So let's say it starts with this, and then here I have something, and here I close this. I want to find anything that looks like this, right? So if I click on find. Really? You didn't find anything. Okay. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Let's try that again. It should have worked. Okay, anyone? What am I doing wrong?
Something is missing.
So what?
Just guessing. Maybe you should define the something.
Theoretically, it should not be there, because automatically we'll know that this is whatever. Basically it's supposed to use this as a wildcard. Yeah, exactly. So it says, okay, I know that there's something there, and I want to search everything that looks like this. So I can try some. Let's try something. Public class something. Maybe it was a common problem. Oh, there you go. Okay, now it found actually public class DevFest class, public class example, instrument test, and so on and so forth. So that worked. Maybe it was a problem with the comments. I don't know.
Probably the spaces in the space of the comments.
Okay, maybe, possibly. Don't know.
Nice feature.
Hmm?
Nice.
Yeah, it's nice. Well, I guess when you know how to use it, it's nice. It's actually it can be very powerful. I've never had to actually add spaces in front. Usually it works fine, but it's nice if you have to replace a lot of things that look exactly the same. For whatever the reason is, you can actually create those. You can do those structural searches. You can also save them and reuse them at a later time, which can be nice.
Is there a structural replace?
Yes, there's also a structural replace, which is right on top. So you can do public class something by public static class something, and it will do the same thing. So now it's actually find it, and then you can say replace selected, or whatever. If I do replace selected, if I go back to my DevFest class, it can be transformed by public static. So that works also, and same thing, it can be much more complicated code, but for this thing I'm going to keep it short and sweet. What else do we have? Okay, a few other things. So, I should do this. Command 6, there we go. Here we have the monitor area. Anyone have used this before? Yeah. Yes, alright. So we have a CPU monitor, we have a memory monitor, which is quite nice. Why is it dead? I'm not supposed to be dead. Don't be dead anymore. Where are you? The best. Better. Alright. Well, my app is using a lot of memory, as you can tell. It's a very complicated app. If you, we could actually, you can look at this thing and see that when you do something, the memory usage changes. Like for instance, if I, let's add a button. Okay. Let's add a button there. Okay, now I can do something like find view by ID or click and set unclick. Click listener. This is not something I usually do, but that's fine for now. And here we're gonna do something like what can we do? Let's do like let's use a big memory thing. Let's say list of string. List. Yes, I know it's bad. It's okay. And let's add strings that add some string. No, we're gonna do more than that. Let's be bad all the way. So string equals this. What do I want? Let's do a string buffer string buffer. And for int. Sorry. So every time I'm going to click on the button, it's going to add a very big string to a list for no reason at all. So let's try that. And we will look at the right. Also, we're going to look at the memory monitor just so that you have a better view of what's going on there. So back to my. So yeah. Look at the blue thing. Every time I click, it should actually go higher, which is strange. I don't know why it's doing that. Maybe I have a bug somewhere. But yeah, so you know, every time I click, it's actually allocating more memory, and you see that there's more memory allocated, but nothing is changing afterwards. So you see that maybe there's memory there. So that's bad. Okay, at least I have this to look at it now. There's another nice thing that has transpired. That's you have also this neat little tool in Android. Any of you used hierarchy viewer? That's good. And now we have something more integrated to the layout to the Android Studio called Layout Editor. So what this does is basically you can actually see what's going on with your layout. So it's another way of looking at our hierarchy viewer. It's a little easier to actually start. Maybe a little easier to understand as well. Some people will say it's not as neat, but I find it easy enough. So you can see how the layout is done and if your layout is performant or not. So that's what that is. You have also other neat tricks like here you have a little icon that is very small that nobody knows about. You can actually have information about your package and memory usage. So if you click here, you have a text file that is generated with a bunch of information about what's your stack at this time, what's going on with the heap, and so on and so forth. Just saying that it's there. You don't have to use it, but it can be interesting. Same with the package information. You have a bunch of information about the package itself. You just have to click on the thing, and then you have all that information. That's quite neat. That I believe that's brand new from that's new from Android Studio 2, but nobody knows about it because nobody talks about it at all. What else do we have? Oh yes, that's a good one as well. And after that, I'm gonna let you alone, leave you alone. So I made some changes in this file, and I don't remember. It was better before, and I don't remember exactly. I don't want to actually do exactly what I had before because I don't remember the exact syntax. So what do we have? We have a local history, and if you don't know what this is actually pretty cool. So what it does, it's record pretty much every time you do some file changes. So it gives you the same file, so it has nothing. It's not connected to any Git or anything like that. I did not commit anything. So this is really all the idea doing this. So in the beginning, my class, and let's try to make this bigger. In the beginning, my class looked like this, like this one on the left side, and now I have all these differences. And in this, like 11 minutes ago, I did some changes, so it looked like this, and I added these things. And so you can actually say, okay, I want to keep, I want to go back to the way it was, so I don't need these pieces here, and I don't need this anymore. And so now I'm back to my version 11 minutes ago. So that's a very, very neat trick, especially if you change things a lot, and sometimes you make mistakes, and you close the window for whatever reason. You don't have the command Z anymore to undo whatever you did. Well, you have this that is quite nice. This is a very neat, very powerful feature that is also available when you do Git. If you use Git, hopefully you guys use Git. If you use Git history, you can do exactly the same thing. So go back in the history of the file in your Git repo and look at the changes and import changes from a previous file and so on. Or even just look at what's going on. There's been some mistakes here. Like errors. Sometimes I make errors. But I know you don't, but I do. And sometimes I get lost in all my errors. So what I can do is I press F2, and it will automatically actually go from one error to the other, which is nice, especially if you know, that happens sometimes. Refactoring gone bad, something changed, you don't know why. Maybe it was bad merge or whatever, and then there's red all over the place, and you have to actually go. You have a quite big file, and you have to go through all the errors and fix them because they're not nicely tied, and you cannot just replace structurally to actually fix them. So you have to go one by one. So you can just press F2, and it will automatically go from one error to the next, to the next, to the next, or Shift F2 to actually go backwards. Which in this case I only have 2, so obviously it looks the same way. But you get the idea. So that's actually pretty neat. Another thing that is really nice, if you do debugging, don't know if that happens to you. Anyone? Debugging? At least one, that's good. Alright. So first thing is I come to this line here, and I click on the gutter, I believe they call it, and there's a red dot. That's a breakpoint. So that means that when I start debugging, I will break automatically in this at this line, which is nice. But I'm using my mouse to do it, and there's a way not to actually do that. If you do Command F8, it will do it automatically. Yay! No mouse. Woohoo! Best, even getting better, if you actually right-click on the breakpoint. Something that you may not know is you actually have options on this breakpoint, which can be life-saving. Example, what I can do is I say do not suspend, which means that you will not stop when you get there. However, what I want you to do is show me something. So log something that I want to see down there. So for instance, I can say string.format, and I believe that in that line I have an I, so I'm going to say something like my index is there, and then I give it I, and that should do it. So when I click done, now what's going to happen is so I don't have to recompile anything. I just have to connect to so I have something running right here. Actually, this is not going to work. Hold on, just give me 1 sec. I'm going to redo what I undid. So let's do local history, show history, and I'm going to put back my button click, but not all of it. Yes, that's good. So that's okay. So now I won't do this anymore. I will just say hello. log D, log D, and this thing, and add command F8, add breakpoint, do exactly the same thing. So I have a view here, so we're going to do something a little different. Log evaluated, I go to string, log format. I don't have to do the string format, but I think it's a better practice, so I try to use it everywhere. So my view ID is, and then %d, and I have view get ID. And now, I hit done. I connect. I click on this little thing. As far as if I do it, I created a shortcut for this. That's another thing, and another neat thing about key promoter. By the way, if you do one thing several times, after a while, it's going to tell you, by the way, you don't have a key shortcut for this. Do you want me to create one? Which is nice. So I did that. So as far as on my machine, it's Control Alt Command A, because it's the 3 keys that are right next to each other, so it's easy. And I do this, and now it's connected to the emulator with the debugger. And if I look at the console, so every time I click on the button, what?
Because it doesn't have your log D method.
Indeed. I must recompile it. An instant run actually works great for that. So now it should work. No, it does not. Okay. Why is it not working?
It says in console you need to go in.
Event console.
No, it should be here. It's not in logcat. It's actually that's the tricky thing.
Right.
Oh yes, no. That's the only click of D. That's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for.
Debugger?
Say what?
Are you attached to the debugger?
Let's try it again. There you go. Voila, my view ID is there. All right. So what that is helpful with is if you need to add some logging and you don't want to actually recompile anything. In my case, sometimes my compilation takes like minutes, which is long. You can just add those breakpoints. But the even better thing is sometimes you want to log something only if a certain condition is good. For instance, I want only if view is null, which should never happen, right? So let's put this here, view is null, and now I should never see it. So I should not recompile anything, and nothing happens. Now I'm going to change the condition, say only if view is not null, and add there not. Now click, and it works. Yay, something that works. And I'm out of time. So hopefully, I really hope that you learned something today. And voila, that's it for me. So thank you for being there.